Man, I am curious about that favor I asked you. Any report regarding what's on page 47?
I believe I can help with that, sir.
So it's good.
Life-altering, sir.
Let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing.
Okay. Rigged, and this number comes up a lot in a lot of things. The first Super Bowl season was in the 47th season of the NFL, not arbitrarily. Huge number with this nation's history here in the U.S., where the nation's birthday is the 4th day of the 7th month. But notice, I'm going to write out my name, Zachary, in the base ciphers. None of these things equal 47. I'm going to write out my middle name, Keith. None of these things equal 47. Again, Hubbard, that's my last name. None of these things equal 47. You know, my mom's name, Donna, not 47. My sister's name, Jennifer, not 47. Her nickname, Jen, not 47. My dad's nickname, Tim, not 47. His full name, Timothy, not 47. None of us have a 47, right? But again, I write out government, it equals 47. I write out authority, it equals 47. I write out Republican, it equals 47. I write out Democrat, it's 47. I write out DC, it's 47. Again, President, 47. White House, 47. Trump with his mini 47 rituals. I've done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. Is Trump on the his quote on the campaign trail, you know, about 4 years after this license plate's been in my background, if you can make it out there. I've had that license plate back there for a long time. I've had it since I lived at my last house, and I didn't even put it up in the background at my last house because the setup behind me was different. But that license plate back there, what is 47? Again, learn to just look for the 47. You don't need to teach people to Gematria. Just be like, look, there's the 47 again. But the point I was going to make is what I was showing people is out of the 50 states, if you go through the 50 states with these, the only two ciphers I knew, you only get one state that equals 50. Because I already had people making the argument back then, oh, 2 ciphers? Now you can probably just connect whatever you want. It's just like, okay, another retarded argument. But out of the 50 states, only one sums to 74. Oregon. Only Oregon. 1 out of 50. That's 2%. So, you know, that list of words with Jesus, if you wanted to say that 1 in 50 words equaled 74, which is not true. Somebody ran the statistical analysis, it's less than 1% of words have the same Gematria value. So a fraction of a percent times 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 a fraction of a percent, that's how you find the probability. That's how it works. If you take probability, you learn that to find, if something has 50% odds and 50% odds, what's the probability of it going this way and this way? You know, those two outcomes you want. Well, 50% times 50% becomes 25%. So 1 in 4 chance. You know? Smaller and smaller. Every time you do it, it would get smaller and smaller. Again, this stuff lining up the way it does is improbable. And for all the people that make these just bogus arguments and just say some, you know, nonsensical thought and then write off something that they really do need, that the censorship is real. And with that said, you know, today, big news headline for the USA. We won a gold medal, the Asian American in the year of Asian Americans in athletics, Sunisa Lee. And, you know, when I looked at this news, I'd already been doing my sports decodes for the day. It's a 57-date numerology. Coincidentally, Sunisa Lee scored a 57 to win it, you know, on the 57 date. But then, again, Gematria, her name, Sunisa Lee, equals 57, right? 57. And if you're looking at that and going, well, you're looking at 4 values of her name, so maybe that's how you're getting it. It's just true. I'm looking at 4 values of her name. The alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. So that gives us 4 values for her name. Correct. That's a correct observation. Does that mean we can cover every number on the board? You know, at roulette, I said if you could have 4 numbers every time, how many numbers are on the roulette wheel? 36, right? So you'd cover 1 out of 9 spaces. Guess what? There's way more spaces on the roulette board of Gematria because it could be a number up to 1,000 and something, right? So her name, 57, on a 57-date numerology, scores a 57, winning a gold. And remember, this is a number of significance, too. Number a lot of entertainers die at. Entertainer equals 57, which is ultimately what these athletes are. You know, glorified entertainers, athletic entertainers. It's a big Jesuit number. You know, Georgetown, the 57 university, established the year George Washington turned 57, 1789. But again, this is more than a number. But here we are on the 57 date. We got a gold medal for Sunisa Lee as an Asian American. And remember who just went out in the 59 ritual? Simone Biles, right? 59, connected to the name Lee as well. Simone Biles exit the stage. Now the focus in USA Gymnastics is an Asian American in the Year of Asian American Rituals. And remember, this is why we thought Matsuyama had a great shot to win the Masters. Again, Matsuyama did win the Masters. We thought he had a great shot before it began. He got the green jacket 45 days after his birthday. Whole lot more to it. It would blow your mind what they did with old Matsuyama. Again, the Masters in Georgia right after the targeted shootings in Georgia of Asians at spa parlors that began a conversation about racism towards Asian Americans, especially in the wake of Donald Trump blaming the coronavirus on Asians, calling it the China virus. Again, you guys can just see how all so themed this is. You got to get Simone Biles out of the way, who already won her 7th record championship here in the States this year, wearing goats all over her leotard like Brady became the GOAT after winning his 7th this year. I mean, just the obvious symbolism and patterns. But you learn Gematria and you go, wow. Okay, she scores a 57 on a 57-date numerology, and not only that, but her name is 57? You know? And again, people who are not very smart will be like, well, he used 4 ciphers, so, it could have he probably could make anything and line up with anything. Like, no. Every time I type in Sunisa Lee, it's going to equal this, I could have told you a similar story on the 105th day of the year, the 138th day of the year, a date with 33 numerology. I could. But again, she scored a 57 today, too. And realize you'd have to wait several days for all these things to happen. So very low percentage odds of it lining up like it does like this day after day after day. And we're going to talk about many more examples today. Wait, it's nothing against you guys. I'm just saying, just pay attention how these agendas are waged. If you missed my video on Matsuyama, go back and watch it. It'll blow your mind. Shout out to young Ben, who's a real golfer, who's been with the community since he was in high school. He had more confidence in Matsuyama than I did on day one. I liked him on day one, but Ben thought he was the guy on day one, and Ben was dead on. Ben's been with us since high school. And, this last tournament, the Open in the UK, before the tournament began, we thought, there were 3 guys who had a shot to win it, and one of them was Morikawa, who was 40-1. Another was the favorite, who wasn't as interesting. Again, you go for golf, you want those big odds, 40-1. It's like, you bet $1, you win $40. You only had to risk $1 to make 40. I can eat for a whole week well, making good quality food for $40 for myself on a $1 bet. That's the beauty of Gematria. But again, 2 of these major tournaments, we saw the riddles with the Asian golfers. It was easier in the Masters because it was in Georgia and it was right after the shooting. It was like, yeah, this seems like definitely what they're doing. But, Morikawa had a great riddle. And remember what they did with Morikawa last year? He won the PGA Championship on the anniversary of the bombing in Nagasaki. They just did a huge Pearl Harbor ritual with Matsuyama, synced up with everything from the Prime Minister to the Emperor of Japan to the Governor of Georgia. And if you think that's a farce, go back and look at what we documented. It's just like when Kobe died. It was synced up with the Emperor and Prime Minister and literally the establishment of Kobe, Japan, which was on April 1st, 4-1, like Kobe Bryant's 41 in the most pure cipher. Again, this is why this is the one cipher. If you can only have one, this is the one to have. Kobe Bryant, 41, dead at 41. My first book talked all about Kobe and 41. But remember, you need the 4 base ciphers. Kobe died on his 157th day of his age. His whole life is 113, 41, 157 rituals. Some 58. Los Angeles Lakers is 58. But again, you need all these ciphers. The National Basketball Association 113, Michael Jordan 113, Utah Jazz 113, Deer Basketball 113. Utah Jazz are the only 113 team in the league. The full name, the only other team of the 30 teams that has a 113 connection in any cipher is Dallas. Dallas equals 113. Just like coronavirus pandemic, go back and look at March 11, 2020, the pandemic. Coronavirus pandemic 113, the National Basketball Association 113. The pandemic declared 11/3 the day the NBA locked down because of the Utah Jazz player Rudy Gobert. And the Dallas played that day too. Dallas scored 113 points in their game on March 11th. But only 2. So again, for all of you who think because there's 4 ciphers, you can just get whatever you want. Again, 30 teams in the NBA, 4 ciphers. That's 120 numerical values. 120. 2 of those 120 equal 113. Utah Jazz 113. Dallas 113. That's 1 in 60, which is about 1.5% odds. So you mean to tell me on March 11th that the pandemic, you guys see what I'm saying? And Dallas scores 113 points. Again, you're talking about 1.5% odds times 1.5% odds times the day of the year being that day. There's 2 days in the year that could be 3/11, November 3rd and March 11th. So you're talking about 1 in 182.5 odds times 1.5. I mean, that's a fraction of a percent times 1.5% times 1.5%. That's the odds of all those things coming together on that day. But it happens all the time in the NBA because it's manipulated. That's why the critics, they're mathematically retarded. They're like, I need somebody, your brain, everybody's brain should be able to figure out the improbability of what we're exposing every day. Sunisa Lee, 57, scores a 57 on the 57 date numerology. I need a professor to tell me if that's a coincidence. Does it sound like a coincidence, moron, when I'm here every fucking day showing you the same fucking shit? Did I not show how exposed the Olympics were back in 2016? I mean, we shredded it. I mean, calling things, I'm not even invested in doing it this year. I mean, I did that back in 2016. Been there, done that. That still didn't wake up the world, and back then I could actually get some goddamn views. I'm tired of having to prove my point every day, but I'm like, where the fuck is humanity at? Like, why aren't they figuring out that this shit's not a coincidence? Kobe dead at age 41 on his 157th day of his age. 1 month before his fatal accident, he's in the news for helping out at a car accident 113 days after his birthday. I mean, come on, man. That is why a lot of people woke up, though, because of the Kobe example. But giving examples like that about a million things more important than Kobe, and that's real, because, I mean, Kobe's really not that important at the end of the day. He's a fucking entertainer, but that's where everyone's mind's at. And people just, they don't get it. Here, I'm going to close out with just one more thing real quick. I'm going to do it real fast. I just want to make a point, because somebody in the community is putting out a lot of bad information, and they're telling people that Chaldean is the cipher to learn if you're new to Gematria. No, it couldn't be further from the truth. Again, I just want to make a point real quick. Coronavirus, COVID vaccine, Regeneron, when spelled right, Anthony Fauci, Washington, D.C., Society of Jesus, toilet paper. Again, think about coronavirus and toilet paper. Mind control, all-seeing eye. The list goes on. Okay. The most important cipher to know in Gematria is the one that Manly P. Hall stated in Secret Teachings of All Ages when it comes to English, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. And that's why the first 3 years that I was here, I did close to 90% of my research through that cipher, And just take a look in Chaldean, the values you get for all of these things. They're all different. You only have one single overlap in all those terms, and it's Washington, D.C. and Anthony Fauci, which is interesting because this is not I'm not saying Chaldean's not an important cipher. It's an accessory cipher. It's not that important when it comes to decoding the English language. And you can prove this all day, every single day, by looking at what's actually being done by people in the world who use the knowledge, and even just like the organic side of the code. And again, it's just absolutely absurd. And it's not just the letters into numbers. It's the fact that, look at the list. Society of Jesus. Here, let's add another one to the list. Let's add actually a couple more. Paris, France, and climate change. Let's add both of those. The Jesuits from Paris, France. The climate accords in Paris. Again, coronavirus. It simulated the first case in the world in a span of 56 days. The COVID vaccine. Right after it goes live, Captain Tom dies 56 days after the first person got it. A day after the Burma campaign hero, okay, let me rewind. Here, let me add another one to the list. Maggie Keenan, the first person vaccinated in the world for coronavirus. Okay, and while we're at it, let me add one more. Burma campaign. Okay, Captain Tom, known for the Burma campaign, died one day. And by the way, George Orwell's first book, Burmese Days, the first number mentioned in the book is 56. George Orwell's in the Fabian Society connected to the Jesuits. But anyway, Burma campaign equals 56. Captain Tom dies from coronavirus 56 days after Maggie Keenan's vaccinated, the first person in the world, one day after Burma's government falls. And again, in a huge 56 ritual. Not to mention it was a whole huge 201-177, which is another big Jesuit number scheme ritual. But anyway, all these 56s. Coronavirus, the silver lining was it helped with climate change, as they reported. All of these numbers have been related to the ritual. Gavin Newsom, whose name equals 56, and you're on it in reverse, said 56% of California will get coronavirus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. Boris Johnson's reading a 56-page winter plan for what to do about COVID. He's saying the UK strain is 56% more infectious. You have the Jesuits logo above the Prime Minister's door at 10 Downing Street. Again, this cipher, and we're talking about coronavirus, you can use this cipher for so many things to see through the majority of a ritual. Chaldean, I mean, you can make some interesting connections, and without the base ciphers, I wouldn't even know where Chaldean fits in half the time. But there's just somebody out there poisoning the well, putting out really bad information, preaching cowardice, telling everybody the world's a simulation. If you're getting into Gematria, make sure you're listening to me and using the Chaldean cipher. It's just like, okay. You're going to miss the whole relevance of this. The point of knowing this knowledge, the point of having knowledge, period, is to empower yourself in the world. It is to empower yourself. Being knowledgeable of your enemy is one of the most important things you can do, even according to the Jesuits. They let you know in Sun Tzu. Otherwise, if you can't recognize your enemy, you're never going to defeat them. You're going to forever be manipulated. But anyway, with the Chaldean cipher, like had I read in Manly P. Hall's The Chaldean Cipher, I mean, I would have never found anything, and I would have just moved on to the next topic looking for the answer of numbers in the news. Because I read Manly P. Hall, an expert in the occult, and went with his advice, it's made a world of difference. So this clown who's emerged, who's telling everybody that Chaldean is the cipher, again, you guys, you can prove all day. And that's why if you watch, honestly, I can't even believe anybody's watching that channel because they're the worst decodes, decode after decode. But yeah, putting out nothing but poison and venom, and that needs to be corrected as well. So I'm going to do that real quick. And we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Again, thank you to everyone who hit the like.